Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Loudwire podcast. I'm Graham.
I'm Joe.
And today we have the Appice, A-P-P-I-C-E brothers.
Appice.
Whatever you want to call
Appice, Appice.
Vinny and Carmine.
Vinny and Carmine.
Are here.
So this is the first time that these two brothers have collaborated together in the studio for an album. They've worked before doing drum clinics. They had a DVD out. And they got a bunch of their friends to play on the record. And I love seeing all these elder rock guys getting together, just jamming with their friends, having some fun. It seems like there's no preconceived notions about what the album has to be. We're not worried about album sales, things like that anymore. So it's just get in the studio, write some stuff that makes you feel good, just have fun.
Yeah, so you'll hear all about that new record, Sinister, and you'll hear a lot of stories. This one is all about stories. Stories about Carmine with Vanilla Fudge jamming with people like Jimi Hendrix.
Getting on stage during a Zeppelin concert, switching roles on drum and bass.
Yeah, almost getting into a fight with Black Sabbath over weed. I mean, just legend after legend, crazy stories. I mean, Carmine wrote a book about this stuff, but again, we could have sat here all day just to hear his stories because my eyes were just popping out of my skull. Stories about Hendrix, Sabbath, Zeppelin, just all the greats. You know he has a story about everybody. So it's amazing for a guy to be his age, I believe he's 70 now, still making music with his brother, of all people. I mean, two legendary musicians. We're super happy to have him here on the podcast today. All right, everyone. So here it is. Carmine and Vinny, get ready to sit down.
And shout! Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Loudwire podcast, and we have two very awesome guests today. Brothers in rock, brothers in metal. We've got Carmine Appice and Vinny Appice. You know Carmine from Vanilla Fudge, Cactus, Blue Murder, a ton of stuff. You know Vinny from Black Sabbath, Dio, later Heaven and Hell, Kill Devil Hill. You guys are two very busy men.
You gave him one more than me.
What was that?
You gave him one more than me.
We'll take that one away. And you're here to talk about a new project that you have just called
Appice. Yeah,
So-
well, however you want to say it, Appice or Appice, as long as you spell the name right and you know what it is.
Yes, and
Pretty
the album
much.
is called Sinister. That one's going to be out October 27th.
Yep.
So you guys have toured doing some drum clinics and stuff before, but this is really your true first collaborative effort in the studio.
You know, when I started playing, Vinny wasn't even born yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, 11 years.
Yeah. So, you know that, and then, you know, I left the drum set at home. I was already gone out of the house, and I left the drum set. The drum set I recorded, "You Keep Me Hanging On," I left at the house because I had got an endorsement and I got a big drum set. So then he started playing like at 8 or 9 years old. When I went home and I saw him playing, I said, "Wow," you know. My mother said, "He's driving me crazy like you did," you know. And
She thought it was all over.
so then,
you moved
so
out.
then, yeah. So we realized he had talent. So we sent him to the same drum teacher I had when he was young. Oh, so by the time he was 12 years old, he was really good, you know. And that's where it started. So we were never really in the same house together, you know.
So what age did you move out?
Say again?
What age did you move out from home?
What?
How old were you when you moved out from home?
Oh, when I moved out, I was 19. So he was like 9.
Yes, that was right when you were starting to get interested. Now, was it Carmine who got you interested in playing drums, Vinny?
Well, yeah,
or was it
before
something
he
else?
even moved out, he used to rehearse with the local bands in the house. And I was like, 7, 8 years old. And there's a live band in the we called it the porch room.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my entertainment as a kid. I go sit there and watch the live band, So it was totally inspiring and influential to go, man, this is amazing. And then I watched Carmine play, so I want to do that. I want to play drums too. So that got the fire going in me.
And then
It was like in the songs.
And
Is
then
that my
yeah, it's
brother
in the
on
song.
TV? That's what I want to do. He used to come to the shows. Watch
My
me on
parents
that
were very,
song.
very, very supportive. They went to
Yeah.
all our shows.
Yeah.
So they took me and my sister and to see the
All my
Vanilla
gigs,
Fudge, and
yeah.
so I used to go at a very young age to the Fillmore East out here in New York and see the Fudge play. 3,000 people, and wow, look at this! This is amazing. So that was really got me going. Like, I want to do this too.
Yeah, especially it's different, I think, seeing somebody else play in front of 3,000, just a band that you like, versus your brother.
Yeah. Then he did his drum solo. I used to get all nervous, like, oh my God, he's doing the drum solo. What if something happens?
Did something bad ever happen during a drum solo?
Oh
Yeah, the bass solo.
many times. The bass solo.
The bass solo.
Yeah, many times. I mean, in the old days, the drums weren't built. We helped build the drums strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd bend this thing with the cymbal, and all of a sudden the screw would break off. I mean, have the cymbal in my hand in front of 10,000 people. Like, oh, now what do I do? I just threw it away onto the stage. But yeah, now the drums are built to
Yeah, I remember
ferociousness as we developed.
When he started, they didn't even have monitors and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it wasn't even monitored.
They didn't have a proper PA. They had monitors were sometimes amplifiers, guitar amps.
I took a dual Showman bass amp on the road with a little Shaw mixer, and when we toured with Vanilla Fudge and Jimi Hendrix, and they had Voice of the Theaters with the PA, and the guy didn't even have the board in the middle, out the front. He had the board on the side of the stage. So he'd run out to the front, listen to it, and then come back and turn the dial. So I had these two amps, and Mitch Mitchell would come up to me when we started the tour. He goes, do you mind if I use your drum amps? I said, no, you could use my drum amps. So I let him use them as well. And, this is big Voice of the Theater cabinet. Then these two Showman cabinets with two 415s, like two on each side. And if there's some pictures that had... our keyboard player, Mark Stein, used the Showman also. So there's some pictures with Hendrix with two Showman tops. One said Carmine and one said Mark. And you see Hendrix standing there on stage, and it says Carmine and Mark on those are our amps.
Now, what was it like watching Hendrix back then? Because obviously you didn't know that he's the legend everybody regards him as now. Did you see that in him when you were watching him, or was he just kind of like, this guy's a really good player? But
I knew Hendrix before he made it.
Okay.
He was he used to play in the city here, all the time. He was Jimmy James and the Blue Flames, and we played gigs with him, opposite him, and he was doing the same thing. He was always great, and then when I started making it with Vanilla Fudge, and one time we went up to at the time in 77th Street and Broadway was a dump. It was Panic in Needle Park, if you ever seen that movie. And we used to go to these black prostitute apartments after the gig and smoke some weed and talk about making it, me and Jimi Hendrix and my friend Dean Parrish. And then next time I saw him was in London. I was in Vanilla Fudge and he was Jimi Hendrix. And I reminded him of the shows we did together. He goes, yeah, I remember. He goes, what are you doing here? I said, I'm in Vanilla Fudge. And he said, oh, I love the Fudge.
Wow.
So we were friends, from back then all the way up. So he was always tremendous. He's always playing with his teeth. He always did that stuff,
Mitch Mitchell kind of gets overshadowed by Hendrix a little bit, I think.
Mitch.
Because, Mitchell. Because he was such a phenomenal drummer. One of the
Mitch
most
was
energetic.
Awesome. Mitch was like probably of the drummers that were there was Ginger Baker, me, Dino Dinelli, Mitch Mitchell, Mitch was one of my favorites.
All those drummers, Mitch, him, Carmine, John Bonham, even Billy Cobham, were all drummers that didn't play it safe.
No, not
They
at all.
played within the song that became part of the song, all the licks and stuff.
Really
that
the
were in
first
there.
guys that brought drums to that full tilt.
Yeah.
That the drums could break and explode at any time.
Yeah.
It's
And it was
sort
part of the song. It built the song up.
Oh,
They didn't just
God.
play the
my
feel
whole-
behind the song.
My whole dream growing up was to be a famous drummer like Gene Krupa or Buddy Rich. They were my idols. I never got to meet Gene Krupa, but Buddy Rich became a friend of mine. But I was always wanted to be the Gene Krupa of rock kind of thing. Bring the drums, attention to the drums. My whole career, that's all I did. Attention to the drums, whether it was me or drum clinics or the drum offs, all that stuff. Just bring attention to the drums.
So would you say,
Mitch was great.
Mitch was awesome.
I love Mitch so much.
Awesome.
I saw
still
Mitch
around.
after Hendrix died. I saw Mitch in Electric Lady with no click or anything, overdubbed all his drums, right, to a few songs, and then doubled them exactly what he played the time before. I couldn't believe it. I said, wow, this guy is amazing.
So his internal clock was just right on there.
He's right on. No click or nothing. He's
Yeah.
just playing to the song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very hard to play without a click when you're in earphones, you know?
Mm-hmm. Now, would you say those jazz drummers kind of inspired you? Because a lot of people forget that rock used to be very improvisational. Like you listen to those Deep Purple live albums and things like that, they're stretching songs out to 20 minutes.
Jamming.
Yeah. So is that where a lot of the jazz influence came from for you?
Yeah, I think it's just rock at the time. In the 70s, rock was evolving to the point of where everybody was free-forming, like with the Cream.
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably the Cream were the first ones to open that door a little bit, you know, and then like we jumped in on it with Vanilla Fudge. I mean, on a fourth album, the break song was all improvising through each instrument, and each instrument had a solo, but took up one side of the album, you know, up near the beginning album. It was like 24 minutes long. And that all that era was soloing and the musicianship, and it wasn't about how great the song was. It was like, let's do the verse, chorus, and get to the solos. You know,
Yeah.
like when I played with Jeff Beck, Broken Appice, it was like, let's get to the solos, you know? Even like when you played with Derringer at the point, you know, you guys improvised a lot, you know? And it was like, that was it for the 70s, you
Yeah.
know? You know, it evolved to that point where everybody was really proficient on their instruments where they can improvise, you know?
Sure.
I was actually talking to Mike Portnoy about this not too long ago, talking about legendary drummers, but we were both in agreement that we both associated that kind of golden age of hard rock with that deep sense of improvisation, that the bands would just go on stage and just rip it for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like my favorite rendition of Killing Floor by Hendrix is the one from, I think, Winterland, where they just went off for like 16 minutes or something like that.
Who is this?
Hendrix.
Oh, Hendrix.
Yeah. The song Killing Floor.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that, again, that golden age of rock was just so balls
Well, you
out.
know,
Yeah, it's hard to do now.
it was so...
It is.
Now the record comes, they go, "Where's the chorus?
Yeah.
We need a chorus."
And live, like with Cactus, you know, we used to play a song, and then all of a sudden our singer would go into a whole different thing, you know. All of a sudden there'd be like a little down, like we take it down, and all of a sudden the singer would start singing something in a whole different tempo. And then we just join in, you know, and then we join in, we take it somewhere else, and then like 5-8 minutes later, we come back to the song. You know, Led Zeppelin used to do that. I mean,
All the greats.
that's why all these Led Zeppelin tribute things are not really Led Zeppelin, because Led
don't have
Zeppelin
that
never
chemistry.
played their songs like that.
Yeah.
They never, I mean, how many more times? It was always like 15 minutes long.
Yeah, I have
You
a
know?
friend who has like bootlegs of each stop at a tour for Zeppelin, and he could actually hear Jimmy Page form a solo that wound up on the next record night after night after night,
Yeah,
playing a solo.
yeah.
He'd keep certain parts and keep messing with it.
Yeah.
By the end of the tour, he had his solo completed, and then it wound up on the
Yeah.
next album. So I think that's an experience that really no Zeppelin fan
Well, when you
has.
record a record, yeah, you write the material, you rehearse it, and then you go record it. But you haven't really played it a lot. So
Yeah.
when you go on the road, that song becomes stronger and
A lot better.
stronger,
It evolves.
and it evolves into a little bit different than what you recorded,
Definitely.
because you played it every night, and sometimes it becomes another part in there, or you just play it differently.
Sure.
Same with the solos, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to that, do you think? Why did that just kind of drop off?
Radio.
Yeah?
Yeah, radio killed it. You know,
Can't play 12-minute songs on
I
the
seen it
radio.
happen in the 80s. You know, it used to be local stations used to promote their local act. Then you got these consultants come in. The guy in L.A. is telling Detroit what to play. You know, so out the window went all the support for local stuff. You know, and then it just got corporate. Corporate radio, corporate songs. You know, the two verses, a chorus. You know, the big chorus, and that's what they used to call
Corporate.
Like in 70s, I don't know, when Boston came out, they used to foreigner, they used to call it corporate music, you know, back in the day, you know.
Yeah.
Even like when I was at Rod Stewart, you know, we used to improvise all the time. You know, there was a lot of songs that we like. Losing You was all improvising, the whole song.
It's a mark of a good musician.
Yeah.
And now we're talking a lot about the really frenetic drumming of the 70s. Now, Vinny, your work with Black Sabbath is a little bit more rigid, slower. You're my favorite kind of slower drummer. It feels like you're just pushing a boulder up a hill. And I think you're like the hardest hitting drummer alive right now. Like we were talking about the kit's not holding up before. When I saw Heaven and Hell, I was still afraid that your kit was going to
break
fall.
everything.
Yeah,
He's
you had
still
these
breaking
huge
them now.
standing racks. You'd have to pull them back towards you so
I
they
keep
don't
telling
fall
Vinny, there's
down.
monitors today, Vinny.
No, I you know what? Back in 1976, when I played with Rick Derringer, I said to myself, I'm going to play really hard and powerful, but with dynamics, not just this one level of volume. And I developed, like an athlete, you just develop the power, and then it's easy to sound loud. I don't put my arms up; it's all in the wrists, and I can just get on a set and pound them without using a lot of energy, and it's fucking loud. Can I say loud?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can say that.
So I developed that after all these years. Then when I played with Sabbath, they played Tony Iommi's very steady on a lot of, it's just right in the pocket, you know. So I learned how to play with them a little bit behind the beat, you know, and
Exactly.
leave the room for the air, and the fills have the air in them. With Sabbath, the motto was, "There's no rush to get to the end." You know, they just
Yeah, you look at Sign of the Southern Cross.
yeah, just let the chords ring out and let the whole song ring out. And so I learned how to play behind a little bit with them.
Now, was there anybody that you looked up to drum-wise to get that kind of sound, or was it just a byproduct of playing with
No, my
Tony
heroes
Iommi?
were, you know, Carmine, Mitch Mitchell, Buddy Rich, Bonham, and Billy Cobham.
Yeah.
Mainly those guys. And I didn't really listen to Neil Peart. And I didn't listen to Sabbath either. I heard the album, I went, wow, this is scary, but I didn't like the drum sound. The drum sound didn't interest me. It was too dead.
The
It was
sound
too
or the playing?
The sound.
Okay.
The playing was great. Bill,
Yeah, I would be very surprised if you weren't into Bill Ward's
total
playing.
different approach. The way
Yeah.
Bill played, he called himself a percussionist, not a drummer. That's what he says, and that's the way he approached the songs. There's all these
He was a little wild, yeah.
Yeah.
parts that you would normally go, whoa, and, you know, I'm playing through it, and it was great parts. But the drum sound was so dead and small. I was used to hearing Bonzo's drums. His drums were big. Mitch Mitchell had ambient
Yeah.
room sound.
Yeah.
That's what I liked. So when I heard the Sabbath stuff, I went, wow, this is weird. This is such a dead drum sound. So the sound
And
didn't
they
interest
both
me.
came out at the same time. Cactus and Sabbath came out at the same time.
Yeah, that.
And the
for
drum
everybody-
sound
yeah.
on that Cactus record is like ambient, raw, kick-ass, you know?
Yeah, for everybody who can see, we've got the first Cactus record here released in 1970, and then we've got Black Sabbath's Mob Rules sitting here in our little room.
But
So-
that sound fit what they were doing at the time.
Definitely.
You know, you listen to Tony's guitars. There's only like 2 guitars on there, rhythm guitars and whatever solos he did, and it just sounds heavy and evil. You know, and there
So
wasn't a lot of
amazing.
production on it.
Yeah.
Never be another one like him. Ever,
No.
ever, ever.
No, Tony's
It's
unbelievable.
the riff
Yeah.
master.
I've never heard anybody play the beginning of Iron Man as
No one.
evil as incorrect as Tony doing those bends.
It's in the fingers.
I've played that song with a million people and some famous guitar players, and nobody
It just doesn't
nobody
sound the same.
gets it.
It's weird
Like
because Zach Wilde, he
I
plays
played it with
obviously
him,
the
too.
Sabbath stuff with Zach Sabbath, but then he also did Hendrix with Experience Hendrix. He can probably play anything he wants,
Yeah,
but
he can.
still, it doesn't sound like Iommi when he plays it with Ozzy or Zach
No,
Sabbath.
I mean, the guitar player's got a sound. Like Jeff Beck's got a sound, you know?
Yeah, and Zach's definitely got
Tony's
his
got
own
a
sound.
sound and a way to play, you know. He's got a sound. I got a sound, you know? It's the way you pick, the way you know, use your hands on
See,
the
when
instrument.
Tony
play.
at sound checks with Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, Tony would go check his gear every day pretty much, and you'd let him go up, and you'd hear chords. You know,
Yep.
most guitar players go like George Lynch for 2 hours. Of
Right.
That's what he does. You know, he loves the solo. Tony, you hear these massive chords. And you just, sometimes I just hop up on the drums and jam with them because it's like this heavy riffs. You go, whoa, what's that? We would record it. And then he'd do some soloing, but mainly just these badass chords.
That tone was monstrous until the very, very last Sabbath shows.
Yeah.
Carmine, you were saying that back in the day, you and with Cactus would tour with Black Sabbath, and you almost came to blows with them one night.
Yeah, it's funny enough. In Asbury Park, the opening act was Bruce Springsteen's band called Steel Mill.
That's a good
Whoa, okay.
Was that the Asbury Park show? Like that legendary Black Sabbath bootleg Asbury Park? Was it 74
Might
or
be.
76?
No, this is 70.
Okay. Oh, early.
We were
Okay.
playing the Sunshine Inn together. It was like a probably 800-seat club in Asbury Park. So it was Steel Mill with Bruce playing, Cactus, and then Black Sabbath, you know. And somebody stole and beat up one of our little roadies. They stole a bag of marijuana.
Sabbath did?
Yeah, and we, somebody else that said, well, it's funny enough, the roadies from Sabbath have that bag of marijuana over there in their room. And we went up to them and they said, it was almost, we went to hands, there was Ozzy and Rusty Day, our singer, who's like, Ozzy's from Birmingham and Rusty Day was from Detroit.
So
two
real
bad,
gritty guys.
Working class,
Sure.
blue collar cities. And then almost had to, Rusty used to carry knives and guns. He got machine gunned to death in a drug deal in Florida. And he was a badass, And it's funny, when I play with Ozzy, we talked about it. Remember that day?
Did he remember?
I remember.
Yeah.
He remember, yeah. But they made the Circus Magazine, big story in Circus Magazine.
Wow.
Gotta look that up and find that article.
I would love to find that article.
Yeah, I just released my autobiography last year, and called "Stick It: My Life with Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll," and all these stories are in there. Like talking about jamming, on the spot jamming when Vanilla Fudge had Led Zeppelin open up for us, right? Then we got to know them really well. 6 months later, we were doing equal bill shows, because they got so big so fast, and I had gotten Bonzo a kit like mine, and so they used to do How Many More Times, and then Robert and Jimmy used to do the violin and the vocal thing. So I'm saying it was like 10 minutes of that. So Bonzo and John Paul Jones would come off the stage. So I'm standing backstage, and John Bonham says to me, "Hey, why don't you and Tim go up instead of me and John?"
Whoa.
He said, "You know the songs?" I said, "Yeah. We played. When you play with a band on tour every night, you pretty much know their songs if you're watching them." So I said, "Yeah, we know the songs." He said, "Oh, you got to do it." I said, "Okay." So we went up and played. And we're playing, and Robert Plant turns around, sees me and Tim, and goes over the page and elbows him and goes, "Oi, look at that!" And we're playing, and they didn't even know it until they turned around.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun, We used to have fun in those days like that,
And it seems like you're having a lot of fun now. And as we see a lot of like rock's elder statesmen putting together albums, a lot of it's collaborations like what you've done with Sinister. So after playing with all these guys over all these years, what's the reason? Do you just want to get together with some friends and jam as opposed to putting together really just a strictly 4 or 5 person band, something like that?
Well, we did a bunch of clinics back in, a long time ago, and it was really successful. And then we did things here and there. But we're talking about, we never did an album together.
No, we did the DVD, remember?
Yeah, but
first we did the DVD, The Battle for the Name of Peace or Appice.
Yeah, we did things like that, but we never did a real album together. We write material and bring in material. So we thought, why don't we figure that out? And the schedules were open. A lot of times we're both busy because we've both had really pretty busy careers.
Yeah.
Played with just about everybody between the two of you.
Yeah, and he's always gone, I'm home, he's gone, that kind of thing. And then we decided late last year, let's see if we can put this together, So we started putting it together in January, and we started with a Pledge Music fund.
Yeah, we have a manager in California that he initially said to us, in order to book better gigs and easier, we need to get a record,
So we did that.
So he put the whole Pledge Music thing together.
And it did really well. We made the goal and stuff, and it was like, ooh, cool, we can do the record. Then we got a deal on SPV Records. Played him one song called Monsters and Heroes. It's about Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the first thing that's released. And then we got a deal on top of that, so we were able to really have some more of a budget to put this together and the correct way. So then we just called our friends and said,
then
what we're doing.
Then being drummers, you have to say, okay, we need some guitar players to start feeding riffs and putting songs together. And, other than a couple of songs that I had written on my iPad, everything else was pretty, and Monsters and Heroes, that was written by the King Cobra guys. We actually did that song for Wendy when Ronnie passed away as a fundraiser, But then it wasn't on any iTunes. It wasn't released anymore. I said to Vinny, this is a great song for us to do because it's about Ronnie. Paul Shortino was managed by Ronnie. You played with Ronnie. Ronnie was my friend.
It just makes too much sense.
So it's like a natural. So we then put it together, put Vinny on.
I had to play. He had the track recorded already. So I had to listen to the track and play because we're playing together on that one.
Yeah.
So I had to match it perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do because we play kind of the same, but except for some different fills, the way we approach it. What the hell is he doing there? And why?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that. And then I'd have to listen to it, and it's down to the button, man. It's just so tight.
Yeah, and then it's opposite. And the way we recorded drums and mixed them, actually, is a little different. We mixed them like the old jazz guys, where I'm on the right and Vinny's on the left. You heard the record, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when we're doing things, we do some like I would copy his fills or he would copy my fills, and then we would go off and do opposite things. So you hear things going back and forth, which is a real ear candy, especially when people are listening in their
with the headphones,
the earbuds and everything, and most likely drums are mixed in the middle,
Always,
so on the, yeah, it's right in the middle with the bass, and then guitars left and right, and this and that. So by doing this, it was like a real experiment to see if we can get the drums sounding big. So like in the song called like Killing Floor, where we're doing this really heavy, lazy groove like you like, when both of us are playing it together, that backbeat is just ridiculous.
Huge.
And then we'll go off and do fills, and he'll answer my snare and I'll answer his snare, and it breaks up, and then it comes back to the backbeat, and then it gets huge again. So it adds dynamics as well. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that was one of the most interesting things for me listening, because you kind of forget that there's 2 drum tracks on there because you just never hear that too much.
Exactly.
So you're listening, and then all of a sudden, like, wait,
it breaks off.
different.
What was that?
Yeah. So it's cool because it'll kind of it always catches the ear. So at any point throughout the album, there's always something unexpected as you're going
Especially
through it.
like Sinister, the first song, because we're playing, like in the first verse, I think you're playing, I'm playing the 6/8 Afro thing, we call it, and Vinny's just going ba-boom. So you got ba-boom over there, and go bum, 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 ba-boom, bum, 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 And then second verse, I do the ba-bums, and he plays the Afro thing. So we switch it around. And then when we do the breaks, Vinny starts on the left, and I answer on the right, and left and right, and then it goes back into the song. It's really interesting.
Funny, on the album it says Vinny's on the left, Carmine's on the right.
Yeah.
And some other songs it describes what's going on a little bit, so people know who's Vinny played first.
Yeah, we
then
did one
Carmine
song.
played.
We did one experiment where we both played in the middle, which is Suddenly, right? We both played in the middle. So Vinny starts the song, then I play the first verse, and then I play the chorus, and Vinny does the second verse. It's like that, but you could actually hear a little bit different drum sound because my drums are analog and his drums are digital.
Interesting.
That's the other thing we did.
How'd that decision come about?
He loves digital.
No.
I mean, he loves.
I love analog. He loves digital. So, every time I record now, I record on Pro Tools, then we bounce it to analog to get
Tape.
that different bite.
Bring it back in.
And then we take it back to digital. But Vinny records in digital and likes the digital, So, and you can really hear the difference when, like my song, "You Got Me Running" that I sang and I wrote. My drums are in the middle, digital. on like a song like Danger, it's Vinny drums in the middle and they're digital. So you could hear them. You could hear the difference in the drum sound, which is cool because when we're doing stuff together, it's distinct. That's Vinny. There's Carmine.
When you're listening back, you can know who's who.
Yeah, exactly.
If you listen to the album, you'll get to hear and how the different sound. You'll know who's playing and the approaches. Different fills and stuff.
Right. Now, Carmine.
My fills are a lot better, so you know it's me.
Vinny's solos are faster, but mine are more flashy.
Carmine, I read that you actually sang on one of these songs.
I did. I sang that song, You Got Me Running.
Yeah.
And I was going to sing Brothers in drums because I pretty much came up with the melody and the lyrics. But unfortunately, the days, we had a limited amount of days to do stuff. That day, my allergies were bothering me. I just couldn't get the grit in my voice I wanted. So this guy in the studio I work with, John Caridi, he's a great guitar player and he's a really good singer. So he was engineering, like co-producing the vocal with me kind of thing. And I said, John, look, I can't get it. Why don't you try it, So he tried it and he sounded good. I said, you know what? That's good. You do it. It doesn't really matter. Live, if the album gets successful enough where we do that song, I'll probably do it live, and then we can stop the song in the middle and go, hey, wait a minute, Vinny, don't you remember when you? We can make. We have a bit of comedy in the show, that way in the intros and it makes it a lot of fun. And the good thing, like live, and the album was really like we did live. We did a lot of songs together live, but then like Vinny will do We Rock and Holy Diver by himself. I'll do like a heavy version of Do You Think I'm Sexy and Bark at the Moon by myself. Like now we're going to play Riot, the Blue Murder song on the album together.
Love Blue Murder.
We're going to do that. I know. We've been trying to get John Sykes out to tour for 12 years. Can't get him out of the house. Matter of fact, when Mike Portnoy was playing with him for a second, Mike came up to, we did a drum event together. He said, how do you get Sykes out of the house? I said,
you don't.
I don't know, dude. I've been trying for 12 years. I gave up.
Broadcast it.
Yeah.
But, everybody wants to see Blue Murder, but, But anyway, so we're going to do Riot live, and we're both going to play it together. That'd be really fun,
Awesome.
So we do that, play together, play separately. So we figured we'd take the same approach on the record. So half the record is playing together, and then half the record's, us playing separately.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to talk about Ronnie James Dio a little bit. We were talking about back in the day, there weren't even monitors on stage. And now here we are in 2017, and the Ronnie James Dio hologram is about to embark on a European tour before the year is over. Now, Vinny,
it sounds like science fiction.
It really does.
Yeah.
It feels perfect for Ronnie, though, because this was totally his realm of the fantasy and everything.
Yeah.
And obviously, Vinny, you played with him for a long time. Still paying tribute to him with Last in Line. Also very sorry about Jimmy Bain. That was tough for everyone. Yeah. So what is your opinion on the Ronnie James Dio hologram? It has to be a very eerie thing.
I would have to see it to really get a feel and vibe of what's going on with that. The only thing I saw was the first time they did it. They did
at
it.
Vakken.
Yeah, and it was on somebody's phone, and it was really hard to see.
Yeah.
The only thing I did notice is, the person that did the moves for it was a chick, Gabby Ray, that Wendy manages. This young chick, she's like 17. And she sings very well. So she did the moves and stuff. So the only thing I noticed, I said, well, Ronnie never had a nice ass like that. I said, I've seen his ass every night. Yeah. And it didn't look like that.
You've seen a lot of them sitting back behind the drums.
Actually, I've seen everybody's ass. Yeah. And come on, move that. And then and I noticed
my ass, but
I don't see his ass.
You do actually.
Sometimes when he gets up. But the legs were a little thicker, too, a little heavier on the legs. And she's thin, but Ronnie was so thin. So I thought, well, that's weird. And then I found out that she did the moves for it. I went, okay. But it looked, pretty real from what I saw.
It's going to open up. If it works, you'll be seeing the Michael Jackson tour. You'll be seeing Elvis Presley. You'll be seeing everybody,
Well, we had.
I'd like to see it, to see what
Yeah.
it does, and you know, I mean, the other thing is it keeps the music alive. It's getting a lot of press because people. It's never been really done on a tour.
Yeah,
so.
because the only time somebody like Ronnie that is going to get a lot of press is maybe through like reissues of the catalog, like they just did that Dio box set. But as we lose a lot of these guys, that's where you start to wonder. It's like the name just fizzles out of kind of the mainstream, unless, like I said, these reissues. So I like it because, as you said, it's a way to keep the legacy alive. There's people who were born 15 years ago who who probably are just getting into Ronnie.
Music,
they're just getting into Ronnie now, and now they get to experience that show, or at least get a taste for what it might have been like.
The only thing it's not going to have is that spontaneity that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that the hologram actually, before the show, in the dressing room, the hologram has a drink, like Ronnie used to do. Hang out.
That's funny.
Chat with the fans.
In a way, it's good. It's good timing for everything because our song "Monsters and Heroes," which is about Ronnie, we're doing the video on that, right? And Wendy gave us permission to use Ronnie's pictures and his name and stuff in it. So it's coming out about the same time as that tour. So it's like she said in an email to me, she said it's great timing because we're doing that tour.
Yeah, anything to
as
keep
well.
the name
So
out
it's like a real tribute to Ronnie coming out in the fall, which is awesome.
And then we're going out again. We're gonna be on the East Coast in November with Last in Line, 4 more shows, and then so we play the old stuff too. People love it. It's crazy. It's 30-something years old and they go crazy.
Isn't it strange that no matter how much new music comes out today, everybody just still goes back to the classics? Yeah. What do you think it is about that?
The music today sucks.
There's so much soul in the old.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of soul and heart in the old stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's
the
all
Dio
clinical
stuff.
now.
I would agree that today's rock and roll tends to suck.
There is no rock and roll. I mean,
those songs like on Holy Diver, which when we made that album, we were just having fun. We were smoking lots of weed and shit and go in the studios and just do crazy stuff and record it. No click. And we played the whole song together. Yeah. So it was a lot of soul in it. We really put our heart in it.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if the song sped up a little bit. Nobody gave a shit.
I'm a big fan of not using clicks.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. And that comes across,
You get that raw energy.
And it's the way the way the bands today are presented. I mean, back in the day, in the Dio day, in the Cactus, you got airplay, you toured, everybody toured, you got airplay. Today, I don't know who these bands are. They all of a sudden they're playing arenas. I go, who are they? How did they get there? I'd never heard of them. And there's not just one. There's so many that there's no radio anymore to listen to. That you can, like people say to me, how do you find new bands? I said, I really don't anymore.
Just go back.
I used to drive in my car and put the radio on and hear new music.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Rudolf Schenker about a month ago. And he was saying that over in Europe, they don't have the concept of classic rock like they do in America. He's like, Scorpions release a new album, the new single goes to radio. It's not just like how here in America, hey, if it's after 1989, like, forget it.
Yeah.
All you have is the internet. And I don't know how these people work the internet to get big. We met a band, a drummer. We did one of those Bonzo bashes on the West Coast. I met this drummer and their album broke into charts at number, 10. They sold 30,000 records. I said, well,
we used to give away 30,000 records.
Yeah, and
to
now
my family.
Yeah. I mean, my solo album did 110,000 records, and it just barely made the charts. It was like 110. And now it's number like 10. And these guys, I said, we're playing. We do like 3,000 people. I said, how long you been together? Because we've been on the road for 10 years.
It takes about 10 years for a lot of bands to break now.
Yes.
Unbelievable. I mean, by the time you break, you're a freaking old man. Mm-hmm. If you start at 30 years old, you look young, you're in a band. 10 years, you're 40 years old.
Yeah.
I made it when I was 20. He made it when he was what?
That's why
18?
I changed my age to Celsius.
Oh, that's nobody thinks of doing that.
13 Celsius sounds way better.
Going to metric.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's lost on a lot of bands today too is the fight. before everyone was able to get a regular job playing club shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's where you really gelled on stage and had that chemistry.
Yeah.
And now they're practicing maybe, 4 or 5 hours a week, 1 day a week, trying to write the stuff, sending files back and forth. You just don't have
that experience on stage
exactly.
time.
That's why there's a lot of these new pop acts per se that they get signed and they do a record and it becomes big. They've never been on stage.
And then they don't sing when they get on that stage.
They don't sing without auto-tune.
Yeah.
Oh, auto-tune's the worst.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Is rock dead? What do you think, Graham?
No, but it's on its death knell probably. But luckily, I think metal, even like the underground metal stuff, is still excellent. It's just much harder to find these days.
Like you talked about Europe before. We just came back from Europe with Last in Line. We played about 8 fucking giant festivals and metal, and it's all happening over there. They have so many more shows and metal and festivals and stuff than the States. You know, they have the magazines, as Carmine said, and they're just real supportive of this music, and it's quite a difference over there.
Last year I went over we played the Sweden Rock Festival. I played with Vanilla Fudge and King Cobra. Thursday was Vanilla and Saturday was King Cobra. But King Cobra did like 3 shows before that, and they were packed, and the people were going nuts. You know, and they love that stuff so much. I mean, 80s now is the classic rock.
Yeah,
You listen to the classic rock radio, you're getting all 80s.
In 3 years, the 80s started 40 years ago. Just think about that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I know, it's crazy.
I was born in 89 and I'm saying that.
Nobody thought this was going to last. Like, make that album and you go, okay, you know, it's not going to last 40 years.
And it's still regarded as
30-something
among
years.
the absolute best.
Yeah.
Now, last question for each of you here. You've collaborated with so many people over the years. Who is one person you have yet to collaborate with that you would still like the opportunity?
I would say I would love to play with Eddie Van Halen because he's such a monster guitar
pretty
player.
good pick.
You know, and I actually asked him at one point. We were starting a band, me and Jimmy Bain, putting something together, and I called Eddie. He said, "Might as well start at the top for a guitar player." And he said, "You know, well, I'm tied to my brother, you know, at the hip, you know." And I said, "Okay, this could be a cool thing, you know." And so it would be cool to play with him or someone like him, or Jimmy Page would be, you know, it's kind of like heroes, you know. So.
What about you,
I don't know. You know, for me, it's...
You checked everyone off the list?
Carmine likes Britney Spears, so I know I might have wanted to play with her.
Well, if
James
you're talking
Brown.
about staring at asses, then, I mean, you might as well put Britney Spears
Then he
on
could see
stage,
her
right?
ass back on the stage every night.
Yeah, there you
I think
go.
that's why he wanted to do it.
It's much better than Ronnie Dio's. But I don't know. I don't know if I really have a person, you know. I mean, yeah, it would be nice to play with Eddie Van Halen, but I play with Jeff Beck. I play with... You know, I jam with, not play, but like I jam with Hendrix. I play with so many guitar players and so many singers. Like, probably for me, you know, the old Rod Stewart and Jeff Beck would be a great...
Get that one going.
That team, from those Jeff Beck albums, the first 2 Beck albums were awesome. Ronnie Wood on bass, you know. That would be more like a fit for me.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast. APPICE.
There we go.
Sinister. Out October 27th on SPV Steamhammer. Go pick it up. Lots of cool guests on there. Bumblefoot's on there, one of the sweetest guys
Did you see the
alive
cover?
on the planet. Yeah, with
your
the
face
split down the
cut in half,
face.
Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
When they took the stitches out of my face, it killed me.
Yeah.
Like sore for.
You
a
notice
week.
who the comedian of the family is, right?
Apparently.
I think there's a little bit of both.
No,
going on there.
that cover. You know, originally we were going to call the cover "Masterpiece."
Oh,
Right?
They didn't get it.
Is it
And
too
in
late?
Europe,
In
they didn't
Europe.
Is it too
understand
late?
it.
Oh,
We had the picture from the inside sleeve of the picture of us pointing with the evil hands
And the cracked oil painting
It was all
look.
cracked painting, and it was going to say Mast Appice.
Mast, M-A-S-T.
M-A-S-T, and then Appice.
Wow.
Maybe that'll be the name of the
But then we
second
sent it to them. They
We didn't
know.
realize, well, they do speak a different language over
Yeah,
there, and
you know,
many
they
languages.
didn't get it.
Doesn't
They didn't
work.
get it. They go, what does this
Oh,
mean?
man.
Well, we don't understand what
So
this
it was
means. And I
good
said,
thing we didn't do
oh.
it.
So then we said, let's get a new idea. So
US
and I went on
exclusive.
their website and I saw some woman had a half woman and half skeleton face. I said, that's interesting. Maybe we should do half me and half Vinny. So our art designer put it together, and I'll never forget. I said, when we put it together, I said, that's cool. I said, got to put stitches down the middle of the face, make it like Frankenstein. We'll call the album Sinister, you know. It makes it a real sinister look.
Together way better than the other.
Yeah, so
cover.
then he said, how about if I make them red so they're like bloody looking? I
Yeah.
said, perfect. And then in the vinyl, it's going to be black and red, the vinyl.
You should do a picture disc with the faces.
Yeah,
That's a good
There you
idea.
go.
yeah.
No, it's too late now. They already printed up the
repress.
vinyls. Yeah, maybe if it goes big, they'll do it again. You know, the second printing.
There we go.
I didn't
Should've
even
did the
think
back
about
of our
that.
heads too.
And get the asses.
Yeah, we
Black,
have
yeah.
we sell
With
at
a
gigs. We
7-inch.
sell drum heads with the we just got them yesterday with the
With the
album
faces.
cover.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome, man. They were like 12-inch drum heads. You know, people frame them, hang them on the wall.
And then we
sign
hooked up with Martha Stewart, and we got dinner plates, and cups and stuff. So as you finish your food, you're starting to see this disgusting stitches. And,
Yeah, he said, who is that face?
is that ketchup or is that? Oh, that's on the plate there.
Got to go to the Tupperware
blood.
parties to get
Yeah.
those.
At Halloween, we should have made up some masks for Halloween.
I'm telling you, it's
There you
not
go.
too late. You can get a rush on everything.
Well, we'll do it next
Give us a
Halloween. Next thing the album will be out and hopefully become a classic by next year.
All right,
And,
well,
and hopefully it won't take 10 years.
hopefully not. Well, again, Vinny, Carmine, thank you so much
Pleasure.
for sitting
Thank
down
you.
with
Thank
us.
you.
It's
That was
great to
awesome.
have you on.
Cool,
Good
man.
to be here.
Good.
All right, there they go. Vinny and Carmine Appice, A-P-P-I-C-E.
A piece,
Yeah.
not a peasy.
Whatever you want.
Their other brother goes by Appice, and somewhere we're getting a peasy in there.
It's a weird family.
Parcheesi. Let's play Parcheesi.
That was great. Again, I hope you all enjoyed those stories as much as I did.
That was painful to have to wrap that up.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been great to just have Carmine sit down, Vinny sit down, and just be like, hey, you know, tell us a story about Dio. Tell us a story about Hendrix.
Tell us a story about every single one of these incredible legends that you've worked with over the years. Hey,
Jeez.
yeah, what a resume between those two guys, huh? Holy crap. Like, if you thought just being in Black Sabbath and Dio was enough, like, go back and really look at what Carmine has done, because I feel like a lot
Jeff
of the metal...
Beck.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the metal audience isn't as familiar with the work that he's done. He's, as they said, 11 years older than Vinny, so
Yeah.
he got in the ground a little bit earlier. And definitely check out the first Cactus record. Thing rules.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that Carmine did not have one person on his list that he has like yet to jam with or would want
Yeah, what
to
the
play
hell?
with.
Can you imagine just having a career like that? Where they're just like,
Where you're 70 and you're going, nah, I did it all.
no. Everyone.
Anyone you still really want to play with? Nah,
No.
been
did it
there,
all already.
did that. It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, we got to thank them both for coming in again. That was awesome talking to them. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Loudwire podcast. Make sure you go to loudwire.com for all your daily rock and metal news. Hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Subscribe to the Loudwire podcast on iTunes. Give us 5 stars and a comment if you'd be so kind.
A nice comment.
Yes. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow me, Graham, at GrahamWire on Twitter.
You can follow me, Joe, on Instagram, not Twitter, at Ice Nerve Shatter.
All right. Thank you all so much. We'll see you again soon.
And don't forget, Graham, what shouldn't they forget to do?
We're about to
Play some Dookie.